Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
And today we're going to be talking about Princess Mononoke, directed by Hayao Miyazaki, written by him as well, actually, and also featuring the voice talents of Gillian Anderson, Billy Crudup, Claire Danes, Minnie Driver, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Billy Bob Thornton, in alphabetical order. I'm going to let John kind of talk a little bit about this because it was his idea to watch this film. This was actually the first time I had seen this movie was today. So,
the second time I had seen this movie was today.
Tell us when you saw it the first time.
I don't remember exactly what year it was. It was probably about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And basically, I started getting into anime probably back in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there. I started out with a show called Trigun, which used to be my favorite show of all time. It's still up there, but it's not. It's been overtaken by a show called Attack on Titan, which is incredible.
Favorite show of all time or favorite anime show of all time?
Anime.
Okay, good.
Did I say show?
I think you did, but I was just clarifying just to make sure.
Well, to say Attack on Titan would be in my top shows of all time. Mm-hmm. I would say that. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that show came out last year, so it's very new.
Attack on Titan?
Yeah. Trigun came out, I think, in 1999. But anyway, I was starting to get into anime and checking out some movies. Anime is more popular in the television department, mm-hmm. but there are a number of good movies too that people refer to, and of course, Hayao Miyazaki is, I would say, by far the most celebrated director of Japanese animation.
Sure.
He's done stuff like Spirited Away. That's probably his most popular one. Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, Castle in the Sky, Porco Rosso. Now I'm getting to more the lesser known ones, but
My Neighbor Totoro. That's one, right?
Yeah, that was his. Well, it wasn't his first one, but it was. I'm not sure if it was the first one that was translated in English. But it was one of his. I think it might have been his second one. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that one?
No. The only Miyazaki films I've seen are Spirited Away and The Wind Rises, and now this one.
Okay. And you liked The Wind Rises.
I did like
right?
The Wind Rises, yeah.
I haven't seen that.
It was good. It was a lot different than this movie. It was, more kind of grounded in reality. There's some dream sequences in The Wind Rises, but it's not a fantasy movie. It's not set in it's set in the real world, I should say.
I remembered that this was a fantasy. I kind of forgot how Japanese it got. It gets pretty Japanese towards the end.
Towards the end, it's like I feel like it's right off the bat with the giant boar, spaghetti monster.
But. That's to me. That's more just like fantasy, but
I gotcha.
I mean, and you're right. The spaghetti stuff was kind of Japanese-esque, but just the whole it gets pretty Japanese at the end,
right?
So you're not you've never really been able to get into anime,
right? And I think I realized during watching this movie, because I'll just say right off the bat, I wasn't a big fan of this film. Mm-hmm. I used to blame it on the animation style, and I realize now that's not the issue. I don't have a problem with the animation style anymore. I may have once had a problem with it, but I actually kind of have grown to like it a lot now. I think it's, they obviously take a lot of time with it, and they have a lot of detail. So I can appreciate that. I think it really is just, number one, I'm not a huge fantasy person in general. I like the Lord of the Rings movies, and I've enjoyed, for the most part, the Hobbit movies that have come out.
It's a different category of fantasy, though.
Yeah, and it was hard for me to get into this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there.
It starts to, like I said, I had forgotten how it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So you didn't really like it. I will say this was my favorite Miyazaki movie. But I'd only seen it once, and watching it again, I don't think I can say it's my favorite anymore.
Right.
I did enjoy it.
Well, what made you love it so much the first time around?
It was so unique
Mm-hmm.
and original. I mean, first I'll go ahead and just kind of give a plot synopsis about what's going on. A lot of the names I'm not going to be able to pronounce. Frequently I just remember faces, and that's especially the case with Japanese names.
Mm-hmm.
So let me pull up my list here. We've got Ashitaka. He's the main character. Besides, I'd say he is. I'd say he's even more of a main character than Princess Mononoke.
Absolutely. He's the protagonist of the story, for sure.
Yeah. Princess Mononoke's name, I'm going to call her San.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I might switch out between the two, but he refers to her as San throughout the movie.
Right.
But anyway, it starts out, he's a part of this village, and there's this giant demon creature, is what he refers to it as, that comes out of the forest and starts attacking their village. And he saves the day, but in the process of doing so, he gets corrupted by this demon, and it kind of puts a curse on him.
This demon, real quick, by the way, this monster that attacks the village looks like black pasta just being kind of tossed around.
Yeah. Kind of like worms.
With
something
legs.
like that.
Yeah, it almost has like a spider-like quality to it, but it's just constantly what it's made out of is just constantly in motion, and they're long kind of snake worm-like, elements, and so I called him the spaghetti monster when I was talking about him earlier, but I mean he looks bizarre.
It's very odd.
Yeah, it's very odd.
It's just weird. It's just weird to see. It's unnatural.
Right.
Anyway, he takes out the creature and he gets cursed, and then he says that this is going to kill me to his guys. So he goes out and tries to find this.
It's basically like he's been poisoned.
Yeah.
The monster touches him, and it has gotten into in his body, and
right. And it's going to take over his body and eventually kill him.
Right.
It's given him some abilities, though. He's got some superhuman strength.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even realize this. He's got this amazing ability with the bow now.
Right.
He's encountered by these two bandits or something on the road, or I don't remember what they were, but he just shoots an arrow at them and lobs off one of their heads and takes off another one's arm. So,
yeah.
That was pretty crazy. But so anyway, he's off to find this spirit of the forest spirit, who's supposed to be able to cleanse him, and that's basically the beginning of the journey. So I'll stop there. And when did you realize that you were not enjoying the movie? Was it at the very beginning?
No, at the beginning, there's a couple of reasons why I think it couldn't draw me in. And number one is it's actually pretty slow paced.
It was a lot slower paced than I remember.
Yeah. And, he goes, like you said, he goes on this journey. Part of it is my fault. I have a short attention span, and when something is slow paced like that, if it's not really drawing me in, my mind will start to wander. And then sometimes I'd be like, wait, what's going on? I tried to pay as close attention as I could because I knew the story was kind of intricate. But he goes to this other town and meets Lady, what's her name? Lady Eboshi.
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 Yeah.
Voiced by Minnie Driver. And this town is declared war against these creatures from the woods who they refer to as gods. And they're like giant animals, basically.
See, and I love that stuff.
Right.
That's one of the things that intrigues me about this movie is it's just that there's these giant animals, and I don't know. It's very intriguing. Go on though.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I can't pinpoint where I started to not enjoy it. Like I said, it just never really drew me in. Mm-hmm. I got lost a couple times. Like, for example, Billy Bob Thornton's character, when he first showed up, I actually kind of was enjoying his character, but then he disappears for a long time, and then when he shows up again, he's trying to kill the spirit forces or the forest spirit as well. Is that what he's doing?
Well, I think that is what he's doing, but it's not because he just wants to kill the forest spirit. He has, other things in mind. He wants reward.
Oh, so there's like a bounty for the forest spirit?
He's taking it to the emperor.
Gotcha.
You don't remember that?
I guess I missed that part. No. Like I said, my mind starts to wander a bit, perhaps. It's my fault, I guess, but yeah, there were moments that I didn't understand. There's also a scene where Lady Eboshi and her army are out trying to fight the boars, basically, and there's another army that attacks Irontown, which is their village, and the women and the lepers are there to defend the city, and they can't hold them back. So remind me, because I think I missed it, why that other group of warriors was attacking their town.
I am not 100% sure either, but they mention before that happens that they're having some they're having some conflict with another
neighboring villages or something.
Yeah, and I think it was the emperor. Because no, that can't be true. Because the Jigo or whatever, how do you ever pronounce his name? I'm sure it's not Jigo, but
the original
Billy Bob Thornton's character, when he brings this letter to Lady Eboshi and is telling her about the emperor, but she mentions that what if it's not just the head of the forest spirit that they want, because her town produces iron, and that's something else apparently that the emperor, she's concerned that the emperor might fall back on his agreement and also try to take the iron. So I was thinking it was the emperor's army.
Okay,
but I can't be sure about that.
All right. There was stuff I liked about the film. I did like I did like Billy Bob Thornton's performance, but I also like Billy Crudup. I thought he was good as Ashitaka. I thought he did a great job.
At first, for a long time, I didn't.
Really?
I was like, man, it sounded so dry and just flat.
Sometimes I think that's how they're directed, because I felt that way for a little while I was watching The Wind Rises, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance. I thought the same thing. And eventually I kind of started to like that performance too, but I do kind of wonder if maybe they're told to play it a little bit kind of
well, it's interesting because I started watching Castle in the Sky the other day. And it's amazing how, I don't know who does the voice. Let me pull that up real quick. But he did an awesome job with his voice acting. It was like so much emotion conveyed in it. He'd just throw in little things here and there. I can't really give any examples, but you just have to watch it to know what I'm talking about. But
right.
you pick up on it. Let's see. I'm assuming it's James Vanderbeek. Or it could have been Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill did a voice too. I can't remember who the main character is, the boy.
I mean, Mark Hamill does, I guess, do voices, but I would assume if it was a younger character, maybe it would be a younger actor.
True. Yeah, and it was. So I'm going to assume it was James Van Der Beek.
Okay.
But yeah, he just his voice acting was just it grabbed your attention, and in this one, what's his name?
Billy Crudup.
Billy Crudup. It just, for a while, it didn't get me. Towards the end, like you said, it's kind of weird. I kind of accepted it.
Right.
And, it was fine. But, anyway. And I kind of felt the same way about, and you got to be right. Because I felt the same way about Minnie Driver, too, as Lady Eboshi.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like she was flat. So.
I'd be curious to sit in, on a Miyazaki English voiceover session, I'm assuming it's this is distributed by, I think, Miramax. Yeah, so, the Weinsteins are credited as producers on the back of the DVD. So I'm assuming when Miramax acquired the rights, it would be American producers probably handling the U.S. casting or you know what I mean by obviously Minnie Driver's British, and I think Gillian Anderson is too, actually. But what I mean by that is just, when it comes, it's going to have an American release, and so the casting for the American release, I'm curious if they have, if they have input or if they have obligations from when they acquire it to Miyazaki to perform it a certain way, or what.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know, but this movie it was a pretty big, I wouldn't say hit, but as far as people that watched it got good reviews.
Mm-hmm. The DVD case says it was one of Roger Ebert's top 10, and then I know you can never really trust the quotes on a DVD case because even like terrible movies have quotes from somebody. But this one says it's the Star Wars of animated features. I kind of get that just because it does have that fantastical element to it. I liked that Ashitaka had that, that his arm kind of gave him some super strength, like you said, and stuff. I kind of expected that to go a little farther, though, when the virus, if you will, started kind of spreading throughout his body.
Yeah, me too.
That it would give him even more kind of powers, or make him even stronger, or something. But like, it didn't really do that.
It didn't. It kind of stayed the same level of power throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. You see it start to lose control a little bit as time progresses. It'll start to kind of act on its own, and he'll have to kind of hold it back. And then he has that weird wind-like sensation that would kind of it was like maybe a couple times really is how often you saw it, but his hair would kind of start to lift up, and I don't know if you noticed that or not.
I don't think I think I missed it.
Yeah, basically there's a couple times his hand would start to act up. It was mainly when he was in the Irons town.
Right, and I remember there's a scene where his hand almost tries to stab Lady Eboshi or whatever, like starts to pull out the sword.
Scenes. That's one of the scenes. That was just his hair that time. Just started to lift up a little bit. It almost, at first I thought it was like supposed to be like how your hairs rise on end when you get, nervous or frustrated. Right. And I was like, wow, he's really mad. But it shows it again a little bit later in a scene, and his clothes kind of get lifted up a little bit by the wind too. So I don't know what that was about. It was never really explained, but that's the kind of stuff that I like in anime. How they can portray, how they frequently portray power.
Right.
It's just almost like an essence around you. And, it's very visual. And that's what I liked about these creatures too. Is they're huge and once again very visual. You just get this sense of power from these guys. I mean, they're like 10 times the size of a normal animal. You had a wolf, the wolf god. You had the boar. Now, the first one, were there 2 boar gods? Because there was the gray blind one.
I thought they were all gods.
I don't think so.
So
I
just
think
the leaders
extra
are
large
gods?
ones are the gods.
Well, then in that case, there would be 2 of them because that was another question I had because I thought they were all gods because I thought what they referred to them as, and then the blind boar that shows up at the end, who's old, they say he's been around for over 500 years. So, the boar from the beginning, I guess, was also a god, and that was my question because I assumed they were all gods. If one of these gods is killed, it doesn't always turn into a demon. Is it only turn into a demon if they're like angry?
No,
I think the thing. It was like if there's anger in their heart or hatred.
No, I think the demon. Well, yeah, I was thinking that I didn't pick up on that, but that might be it. I was thinking that it was the bullets.
The bullets turn them into demons?
Yeah, like that it was like the iron bullets. But then again, the wolf god got shot and did not turn into a demon. So, wait, no, didn't she say... She said she got hit with the bullet.
Mm-hmm. She said it was inside her.
Yeah, and that she would be dying soon.
Right.
So
maybe it's only a boar thing? I don't know.
No, I don't think it's only a boar thing. I don't know, that's kind of confusing. I don't have an answer for that one. That's another reason why I like Japanese anime is frequently there's a lot of things that just are just odd. Mm-hmm. And they're odd because they're not explained.
Right. And maybe it has to do with Japanese culture. Maybe there's like a mythology that we just aren't aware of. I'm not a huge fan of things that can't be explained. I mean, every now and then, it just depends on the movie, I guess. But a lot of times, if like I have more questions at the end of the movie that can't be answered, then I usually am not a big fan of it.
That's what happened to me. I told you I saw Mr. Nobody recently,
right, on Netflix.
And yeah, and I mean, that's one of those movies I would typically really like. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching the movie the whole time thinking, this should be really good. But it was slow. And the biggest problem for me was it was just so... Nothing added up. Mm-hmm. And it ruined it for me. Ruined it. Yeah. So, I know you don't like David Fincher David Lynch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could watch maybe... Like, I've seen Blue Velvet, and that one's... doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I am okay with that movie. Lost Highway, I like the first half of Lost Highway, and then the second half of Lost Highway really kind of starts to lose me. And Mulholland Drive, which it still kind of blows my mind how many critics love Mulholland Drive, because that movie, I think I've even kind of almost figured it out, but I still don't like it. Like I've seen it, and I've given that movie a chance. I've seen that movie 3 or 4 times, maybe even more than that. Mm-hmm. And I've watched because
it's probably just because of how much it's liked.
I'm
right?
just trying to see what I'm missing. I'm trying to find out what I'm missing when it comes to Mulholland Drive. I mean, David Lynch was nominated for Best Director for that movie, and I cannot figure it out. I just don't see what everybody else sees in that movie.
I think Mulholland Drive is the only David Lynch movie that I've seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Dune. That was one of his first ones, wasn't it?
I haven't seen that one either. His first movie was called Eraserhead, which I haven't seen, but I've heard is very bizarre.
I've heard of that one.
And then he did The Elephant Man, which is not very David Lynchian. It's just kind of a straightforward story, which I've not seen. To be honest with you, there's probably more movies of his that I haven't seen than I have. He did, the Twin Peaks TV show. Trying to see. Dune was after The Elephant Man. So he did The Elephant Man in 1980, and then Dune in 84, and then he started to do kind of his own thing. Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart. And I've seen parts of Wild at Heart, and I think I'll like that one just because of Nicolas Cage's crazy performance in it. And then after that, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive. And then I tried to watch Inland Empire, which he made in 2006, but I couldn't get through it. I don't normally, I normally will try to finish a movie even if I don't do it in one sitting. But that movie, it's 3 hours long, and it just wasn't making any sense. It was weird. It had, like, these weird cutaways to, like, people in rabbit suits, like, ironing and watching TV, like, not really doing anything. And it looked like it was shot with, like, a little handheld mini DV camera or something. So I was like, you know what? Can't do it, Mr. Lynch. Sorry.
Let's see, I like that stuff in, like, The Shining.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I don't... If there's no reason for it, and of course he says there's a reason for it, his own personal reasons or whatever,
right.
But...
And I guess that's my beef, too, is like, I understand wanting to make a movie for yourself, perhaps, but, like, if you're the only one who really understands it, I feel like that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And he's one of those directors, too, that, is... And I typically like this approach where, they're like, it's how you want to take it. But if you don't give them anything to take,
right,
then yeah, that's a problem. So, like I said, I've only seen Mulholland Drive though, but there was that weird, what was it, there's like a man in a monkey suit that just walked by or something.
In Mulholland Drive?
Yeah.
Well, there's that, like, I can't remember what they call it, like a goblin or whatever that's, like, hiding out behind the dumpster.
Right.
Behind the cafe. It's really weird, and, like, I've even, looked online to see if I could kind of figure it out, and ultimately, spoilers for Mulholland Drive, ultimately, I think most of it is just a dream, The very beginning of the movie opens up with the camera falling down onto a pillow, onto the bed, and then the opening credits start, I think, and then it starts into the movie. And so I think it's a dream from one of the characters, but then there's weird stuff like that I don't really totally get, that he kind of throws in. And then there's this whole weird thing, again, spoilers for Mulholland Drive, there's this whole weird thing with the parent, like Naomi Watts' parents at the end of the movie that, like, shrink down to, like, insect size so they can, like, crawl under the door. It's I don't get that. I mean, I get, unless it's another dream or something, but it's just bizarre,
Yeah.
And for a long time, I didn't like Naomi Watts because I thought she was such a bad actress in that movie, which was another thing that I didn't understand because, so many critics were talking about how wonderful her performance was in it. And I really think that David Lynch was telling her to act like a bad actress. In the movie, she's an actress who just moved from wherever, Mississippi or something, to L.A. wanting to be an actress, and she's just not good. But I think she was told to be. I mean, I've grown to like Naomi Watts a long time. For a long time, I didn't want to watch her movies because I thought she was so bad.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I've actually grown to like her now, and I think she was just told to be a bad actress or something. I don't know. It's just there's lots of reasons why that movie just kind of breaks my brain.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we got on that about how Japanese culture can just kind of throw that at you as well.
Right. Sorry.
But I like it in the Japanese culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie called Akira, which is one of the first translated animes. It was like back in the 80s. And it was a big deal. And the storyline in that is just, the ending is just like, I think I know what happens. I have my own take on it.
Right.
Like I said, they give you something.
Right.
But
yeah, and that's not to say I don't like movies with like ambiguous endings or
right,
where a movie that like where you can have kind of your own interpretation of it. I'm okay with that. But when a movie like just has like bizarre scenes to have bizarre scenes, or or the whole movie, the movie as a whole just makes no sense, that's where I start to like lose interest a little bit. But there's plenty of movies that I like that, you know, I think kind of ended this way, and then I have friends who think it ended this way or something, you know.
Right. And it does, and it never gives you that definite answer.
Right.
And that's, yeah, it can be examples of, you know, I mentioned Mr. Nobody, a movie that reminded me of what it was kind of trying to be like was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Mm-hmm.
That movie's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those movies that just leaves you, it lets you kind of take your own position on it.
Right.
And, but it was just, you feel comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Princess Mononoke. We were talking about the demons and how they, you know, what makes one a demon or not. But
right.
Let's talk about the spirit, the spirit of the forest.
Spirit. Yeah.
He was one of my favorite things, or it was one of my favorite things of the movie. The calmness that it brought and the mystery of it. You first see it as, which I never really got, about it being the Nightwalker, which was like that giant creature at nighttime. And then in the day, it turns into the form that it's more known for, the forest spirit,
right.
which is kind of like an elk with, they say it's a human face. I wouldn't call it a human face.
No,
but,
I wouldn't either.
But it
has a different looking face.
It's odd look, yeah.
It has a lot of antlers.
Yeah, it stands out, and
every time it takes a step, too, like flowers grow and stuff.
Yeah, but the weird thing is they die too.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. I remember it shows the first time you see it, I think, or the first time you see it up close. It takes, you know, it has a close up of his feet, and every time he takes a step, the flowers kind of grow around his feet. And then he comes up to a plant and he sniffs it, and the plant dies. And I was like, I guess it's supposed to be. My first thought was like, if he's the forest spirit, why is he killing plants? Mm-hmm. But I guess it's supposed to be. I mean, I think they even say, you know, he can give life and he can take life or whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's like his choice, I guess.
Yeah, they do say that. And I didn't even think about that. I was taking it that he's just so powerful that if he gets close to something, it's like it can't even
handle it.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So, Princess Mononoke, we haven't talked about her. She comes and she is basically raised by the wolf god and her two son wolves, which are wolves, and Princess Mononoke is a human.
Right.
And she comes to attack the town, the Iron Town. Mm-hmm. And they kind of go into why that is. Lady Eboshi is trying to kill all of the gods.
Because they want to level the forest, right? That's the whole reason that this war is kind of started between the two of them.
Yeah, she's looking for iron.
Right.
And she just, you know, they're in her way.
Right.
But she's got the backing of these villagers because some of these creatures have killed loved ones of theirs. Mm-hmm. So they want revenge. And Princess Mononoke is wanting to kill them because they have killed the animals. So It's kind of just a loop in itself. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I really liked about it as well was kind of the theme or the message was if no one's going to be the bigger person, then it's just gonna cycle around itself.
No one's ever going to win.
Yeah.
Right.
And you run into that a lot. There's a scene where the boars are angry, and they find that Ashitaka is. That's what I was going to say first. Princess Mononoke goes and attacks the Iron City, and he is kind of trying to be the peacekeeper between everyone.
Yeah.
And so he goes and saves her because they've actually gotten her down and they're trying to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has the backing of this village though, because he saved a bunch of their citizens. So they don't want to hurt him, but he's backing up Princess Mononoke too. And he saves her, and he's walking out. Someone accidentally fires a gun at him. They were threatening to do it, but they weren't going to. But it goes off and shoots him, and he gets out. They let him go, but Princess Mononoke takes him to the middle of the forest, and that's when the spirit forest, the spirit of the forest comes and heals him. Mm-hmm. Doesn't heal the demon in him, though.
Right, his curse is still on him, but...
Yeah. But then the boar come, and they talk about, they're mad because there's a human in the forest. And I felt like that was another one of the messages was jumping to conclusions about, and sticking to just your judgments of something without really thinking it through.
Right.
Just sticking to an idea that makes you mad about a group of people or someone in particular, and just sticking to that no matter what. That can cause a lot of violence, which it shows in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I did like that scene where he's carrying San out of the village, and that person shoots him. For no particular reason. I like the way it was directed, the way it's kind of a side view of San, so you see the bullet come into his back and like right out of his front. And then I like that he still had the strength to keep walking and carry her out. And one of them even says like, how is he still walking? And I'm sure it's because of the strength that he was given from the
it's got to be
from the demon curse or whatever. But
because right after that, he goes to open the gate,
right?
Because they won't let him out. Yeah, I said they let him out. They really didn't. He kind of was like, you guys are going to let me go. And they're like, well, we're not, but we're not going to stop you either. If you can get out. Because they say, it takes 10 men to open that gate. And he does it with one hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of tree trunks, essentially.
Yeah.
Tied up to be the gate. Yeah, it would take... I mean, one person could definitely not do it, and he does it with one arm.
And cool. A bullet wound.
Right.
So, yeah, I would definitely say it was the strength of the curse.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound much like a curse to me.
Well, other than the fact that it's going to eventually kill him, I guess.
Right. Another one of my favorite things about this movie is the visuals.
Mm.
Especially when they go into the forest. And it's that, like, I think he mentions this is a place for gods. And it's just so beautiful. I don't know who does the art, but, just the greenery, the blues. It was just so mystical and peaceful. And you had those little creatures. I guess they were followers or entities of the spirit of the forest with the little...
the little white... ghost-looking creatures. Yeah, I was going to ask you about those. I can't remember what they're called, or what Ashitaka calls them, but he says they're good luck or whatever. Those were weird little guys. They didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, they led Ashitaka and those two wounded soldiers out of the forest. He got them through the... they didn't call it the Enchanted Forest. What do they call it? The Haunted Forest, I think, or something like that, is what one of them refers to it as. I can't remember. But anyway, he leads them out of the forest and gets them back home. But other than that, they don't really do a whole lot. They're just kind of there with their heads turning and clicking.
Right. There's the scene, though, where at the end, when everyone's dying,
right.
all of the animal gods are being killed, and they're at that little island where the spirit of the forest comes to heal. And then, like, all of those creatures start to go up into the tops of the trees.
Mm.
I thought that was an interesting scene where and he's coming as that was beforehand. I'm sorry, where that's where you first see that's where they were going to heal Ashitaka, and he's the Nightwalker, and he's just this giant form walking through the forest, and all of those little ghost thingies go up into the trees, kind of to watch him come,
right. Just to see him.
Yeah. That I thought that was a neat visual.
Mm-hmm.
Then the wind starts blowing and everything.
Visually, the movie has a lot of good moments. Like I've said, I've grown accustomed to the anime style of animation. I liked his red elk Yakul. I thought that animal had a cool design and looked like a lot of fun, and the forest spirit as the Nightwalker I thought looked really cool.
Yeah,
it had a really interesting kind of design to it, and I thought it was very
kind of a transparent, thin Godzilla or something.
Yeah, I think
without a face.
I think I actually called it Godzilla while I was watching it.
So at the end, everyone's dying. The old boar that's blind is they went and attacked the village just because they're kind of like, we're protecting what's ours, and they were ambushed kind of by Lady Aboshi and her people, and they're retreating. All the boars are dead except for the blind boar,
and he's bleeding a whole lot.
Yes, it's kind of gross coming out of his nose, and San, Princess Mononoke, is trying to help him back to the well or the island. And then he's convinced that all of his boars have risen from the dead. And it's actually Lady Aboshi's people, and they've taken the skins of the boars, and so that he can't smell the human scent. That's one of the scents that these creatures have, is they can smell when humans are around. So he thinks that the boars are back and they're following him, and he's like having them charge to the center of the forest, and that's where the demon part comes out. See, because didn't he get shot by one of those bullets, and I think that's what caused him to start turning, wasn't it?
It could be. I honestly can't remember.
I can't either.
I just watched it today.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, and so that's where the spirit of the forest comes, and that's where Lady Eboshi gets the shot off and takes his head off. He's in the process of transforming into the Nightwalker, and she shoots him, and his head gets taken off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when everything just starts going crazy.
Yeah.
This weird gooey blob comes out of his body and just starts growing and growing. It almost looked kind of like the essence of what the demon stuff was.
Yeah. Except maybe just like thicker or whatever. It wasn't like tiny little worm types. It was just like larger kind of globs of it, like you said.
Yeah, it was just weird, a weird form of just and so that starts spreading all over the place. Apparently, they mentioned later why it's the spirit forest looking for his head, and that blob kind of takes on the form, kind of like the Night Walker.
It's like a human version of the Nightwalker almost. I think he's, eventually he has he's walking on two legs, and he's got arms that are kind of looking for his head, because Billy Bob Thornton's character, I think, has put the head into a case and he's going to deliver it to the Emperor.
Right.
And so it's this headless kind of body, giant body, walking around. overtaking like the.
That must have been really confusing to you since you didn't know that he was trying to take the head to the Emperor.
Well, eventually, I mean, he says it in that later in that scene that he's going to deliver the head to the Emperor, but I just didn't understand because Lady Eboshi's trying to kill these guys, the gods and whatnot, and then I wasn't sure like what his role was, but I guess it was he didn't really care about the war necessarily. He was he just cared about the spirit of the forest and delivering the head to the Emperor.
Yeah. That was another thing that Lady Eboshi mentioned was I think she was really looking for the iron, but she mentions that if they kill all of the gods of the forest, that Princess Mononoke will become human again, and then she'll stop trying to kill her.
You think that's true?
I have no idea. I mean, I think Princess Mononoke was still human. I think that was just.
I do too, and that's why I think Lady Eboshi's mistaken.
Yeah, I'm wondering if she was just saying that just to kind of
get people behind her.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So you've got the big blob of the spirit, and it was very odd to watch. Mm-hmm. This is where things just went really Japanese. You just have this. Basically, it starts to become a tidal wave of jelly, basically,
right.
And I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first, but when it got to the town, I was starting to like it. It was like starting to creep up the walls and actually climb them,
mm-hmm.
and that's when the people of the town were very threatened by this.
Right.
And apparently, if it touches you, it kills you.
Right. And
it was killing all of the forest. Like everything it touched was just dying. So it finds its head, and that's the end of the movie.
Well, once it finds its head, it like replenishes life throughout the whole, not just the forest, but like the whole, everything it touched. I think everything that it kind of killed in its wake. Suddenly now there's grass growing and there's flowers growing and all sorts of stuff. And one of the characters even says like, "Oh, I didn't know he gave life to the plants," or something cheesy like that. I can't remember what he said, but I remember rolling my eyes at that line.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, that didn't make much sense. But yeah, I thought apparently he dies, but he doesn't because San says the spirit of the forest is dead now, and Ashitaka says, no, he's life.
Yeah.
He's the essence of everything. So.
And I think they're both correct, I think the body of the forest spirit, that elk kind of deer looking creature, is gone. That'll never return. But I think his presence will always kind of be there through the life, because the forest will live on and the grass will grow and the flowers will be there.
Right, and the replenishing of the forest and the greenery through everything that he was on. I think he kind of just went into that. And then, of course, at the very end, the last shot, you see one of those little ghost guys.
Which I liked. I actually really liked the last shot of the movie.
Yeah, I do too. Little nod.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a little, everything's still here. So, anyway, that's Princess Mononoke. Like I said, I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite Miyazaki movie, but I still really enjoyed it.
Which one would be the top of your list now?
See, that's I'm not sure. I like them. I like them all. They're all so good. My Neighbor Totoro took me a second viewing to like. I thought the first time I watched it was slow and kind of pointless, but it wasn't so bad the second time. My top ones are one of your favorites, Spirited Away.
He's being sarcastic there because I've only seen Spirited Away once, and again, it's kind of like this movie. Not my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah. One that you would probably like, I know I said that about Princess Mononoke, but now that I've got a better feel for what why you don't like certain anime and stuff, is Kiki's Delivery Service.
Right.
Which is about a little girl witch.
Okay.
That basically starts a business of delivering things. I know it sounds stupid.
Sounds exciting.
And pointless, but that's what's so crazy about it.
Right.
Is it really is not about, there's no villain.
Right.
And it's not one of those kind of movies. It's just a story about someone's life, and it's so intriguing and just fun to watch.
Right.
Just the little stories that go on are they're interesting.
I'll have to check it out.
I would.
Well, so far out of the 3 Miyazaki films I've seen, Wind Rises is obviously at the top of my list because I wasn't much of a fan of Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke.
Yeah. Like I said, Kiki's Delivery Service, I mean, it deals with a witch, but it's not like this. It's not Japanese, like, just weird stuff.
Right.
What's another one? Castle in the Sky is really good. That one's kind of in between. You might enjoy that one. It's got some fantasy in it, but it's got a lot of adventure.
Right.
Which I was thinking Princess Mononoke had a lot more adventure than it did. But I didn't feel that way so much this time. But yeah, Castle in the Sky is an adventure story. Kind of like... It's kind of Goonie-esque, I guess.
Okay.
It's from the 80s, too. So, kind of that time period where that stuff was going on. Howl's Moving Castle, I really like. I don't know if you'd like that one. That one's a bit more fantasy-esque. Porco Rosso is awesome. And that one's not fantasy-esque so much about the fact that it's about a pilot.
Right.
But he's a pig. Everyone else in the movie is human.
Except for the main character.
But he's a pig.
That's funny.
But that's a good one too. They're all good.
Yeah.
The only Miyazaki movie I have not seen, which I have but I haven't seen it, is what's it called? No, it's like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind,
which is one of the first ones, right?
That was his very first one.
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen The Wind Rises either.
True. Yeah. That I haven't seen that one.
Well, there you go. What would you rate this film?
I would rate Princess Mononoke 4 out of 5 stars. It seems like it seems like that's like what I give everything, right. But it's not. I promise.
Right. I feel like I can't really give Princess Mononoke a rating because it's not my type of movie, but at the same time I can see that it was well made. And if you like these types of movies, if you like the fantasy stories and whatnot, you might really enjoy it. So I can't really give it like a low grade just because I didn't enjoy it. So I honestly don't know what I could rate. I don't know if I should rate it because I don't know what I would give it, honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I don't think it's
I've
the movie's...
ever been in that situation.
Right. I don't necessarily know if it's the movie's fault for the fact that I didn't like it. I think it's just not my type of movie. I don't know. It's hard to explain, I guess.
Well, saying that though, you still should be able to rate something that's not your cup of tea.
Yeah, and I guess for that reason I would give it it's a little slow, and I watched it with my girlfriend and she wasn't a big fan of it either. So I don't know. I'd give it like a B-. I feel like that's higher than I kind of want to give it.
That's what I'm thinking.
But at the same time, I don't really want to go too much lower than that. So I'll say a B-.
Okay. Very good.
Well, let us know what you thought of Princess Mononoke. If you agree with John, or if you agree with my take on it, or if you love it or hate it, let us know. Tweet us, @Cinema Heroes, or you can leave a comment on the website, www.cinemaheroes.com. You can email us, Justin or John @cinemaheroes.com. Or facebook.com/SM&SM podcast. Well, if as always, if you have any Amazon purchases to make, head to cinemaheroes.com and click our Amazon banner. It won't cost you anything extra, but we'll get a tiny percentage of it. We always appreciate that. Be sure to subscribe and Give us a rating on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. So yeah, I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading.